JBNN keep you informed. I'm Michelle Jones. Before we get into the news, please remember to like, subscribe, leave a comment, and to share the news with family and friends today. Now on to the news. 4 men shot, 2 fatally in Granville. 4 men shot, 2 fatally in separate incidents in Hurlock, Granville, St. James, on Friday night. In the first incident at approximately 8 p.m., O'Neill Howe, otherwise called Redneck, a shopkeeper of Hurlock, was shot and killed, while 2 others were shot and wounded. While police were processing that scene, gunshots were heard elsewhere in the community. When lawmen responded to the second incident, they found 20-year-old Ronaldino Headley, otherwise called Mike, a graphic designer of the community, suffering from gunshot wounds. He was pronounced dead at hospital. Police say the men wounded in the first incident are being treated at hospital. It is not yet clear if the incidents are connected. 7-year-old boy found with submachine gun and the siblings taken into state care. The Child Protection and Family Services Agency, CPFSA, says a 7-year-old boy who was found with a submachine gun at a St. Elizabeth school on Thursday has been taken into its care along with his siblings. Chief Executive Officer of the CPFSA, Laurie Adams Thomas, noted that any child who has open access to a firearm or moreover is found with one in their possession has had their well-being jeopardized and is considered to be in need of protection.
Any child who has open access to a firearm or moreover is found with one in their possession, that child has had their well-being jeopardized and is therefore considered to be in need of protection. As soon as this incident was brought to our attention, we launched our first responders team to the location to ensure that the well-being of the child as well as the other children in the home were safeguarded. The child and his siblings have since been taken into the care of the CPFSA and they will receive the necessary counseling and psychosocial support they need. It is imperative that parents be more vigilant about checking their children's bags before they go to school to prevent them from taking dangerous or inappropriate items with them, be it weapons or pornographic materials or drug-related items. These things do not only put your child at risk, but it can also endanger the lives of other children as well as teachers at the institution.
Gun seized, 3 men arrested in Cassava Peace. An illegal gun was seized by the St. Andrew North Police during an operation in the community of Cassava Peace early Saturday, sources disclosed. 3 men were arrested in connection with the seizure. Their names have not been released. According to reports, a police team was conducting surveillance operations when a motorcar was observed entering a lane in Cassava Peace. It's reported that the vehicle was intercepted by members of the police team as the driver attempted to elude them. During a search, one of the occupants was allegedly found with a silver and black Smith & Wesson .40 pistol concealed in a black holster in his waistband. Man gunned down in taxi. A man was shot and killed in a taxi on Barney Street in Montego Bay, St. James on Thursday. He has been identified as 28-year-old Akitol Winter, otherwise called Nathaniel, a laborer of Kenton Lane, Mount Salem in the parish. Reports are that at about 5:05 p.m., Winter was a passenger in a taxi when a man approached him. It's alleged that the man opened gunfire, hitting him in the upper body. The police were alerted and on arrival, Winter was seen in the taxi with gunshot wounds. He was assisted to the hospital where he was confirmed dead. Investigation continues. Man featured on Wanted Wednesdays, charged with murder. A man who was featured on the Jamaica Constabulary Force's Wanted Wednesday has been charged with murder after he was taken into custody for the alleged possession of a prohibited weapon and later identified as a murder suspect. He has been identified as 30-year-old Joseph Mackenzie, otherwise called Gio, of 2nd Avenue, flanker in St. James. Mackenzie has been charged with the April 6, 2023 murder of 21-year-old Darian Bowman, otherwise called Chavoy, a laborer of Rock District, Trelawney. He is also charged with using a firearm to commit a felony, possession of a prohibited weapon, and unauthorized possession of ammunition. Reports are that at about 10:25 a.m., motorists traveling along the flanker main road saw Bowman running and bleeding profusely. A Jamaica Defence Force unit assisted him to the hospital as they observed that he had multiple gunshot wounds. Bowman subsequently succumbed while being treated. On Sunday, August 25, 2024, Mackenzie was captured by the police during an operation along Harvey Beach in the Coral Gardens community and taken into custody for a prohibited weapon. The police said he was later identified as a suspect in Bowman's murder case. Mackenzie was subsequently charged. Meanwhile, Deputy Superintendent of Police Linwoy Edwards, Operations Officer for the St. James Police Division, has reported that a gun that was taken from Mackenzie has been linked to several crimes in the parish. Addressing Thursday's monthly meeting of the St. James Municipal Corporation, Edwards said that the gun has been linked to 4 crimes, separate from the 3 murders of which Mackenzie, otherwise called Gio, is now charged. 2 weeks ago, we would have arrested the parish's most wanted man, Joseph Mackenzie, otherwise called Gio. It was featured in a number of gang situations, murders, shootings, contract killings, etc. We managed to arrest him and recover a gun, and he has been arrested on 3 separate murder charges. Also interestingly, is that our firearm identification ballistic system identified 4 other incidents of the gun being used, said Edwards. The gun that he was found in possession of was used or involved in other criminal activities, and we are pursuing those investigations also. Edwards continued, even though he was one of our most dangerous men, he cooperated and surrendered. He did not resist the police, and we are thankful for that. No compensation for woman 8 years after being shot by police and losing unborn child. 8 years after Janice Sainz was shot and injured, when police officers fired on the taxi she was in during a high-speed chase in St. James, her lawyers accusing the Attorney General's Chambers, ACG, of ignoring their attempts to communicate and mediate her compensation. Anthony Castell, the senior superintendent of police in St. James at the time, was charged with unlawful wounding and misconduct in a public office after Hines, who was pregnant, was hospitalized following the January 22, 2016 incident. He was found guilty of unlawful wounding, was admonished, and discharged on the misconduct charge on November 23, 2018, and was ordered to pay a $1 million fine or spend 30 days in prison on December 14 that year. Following the outcome of the case, in 2022, Hines' attorney, Shelley Hyman, filed an application in the Supreme Court for compensation for her client. According to her, the last court date was in April this year. Speaking on Hines' behalf on Friday, Hyman said that her client has grown frustrated with the reported lack of response from the AGC in resolving the compensation matter. We had filed claims in the court and served them on the Attorney General's Department, which will be responsible for any payments to be made because the police officers were acting in the course of their duty, said Hyman. The problem we're having is that, in April, we got a date for mediation with the Attorney General's Department and were asked to put off the matter because of some difficulties that the mediator was having. But we have not been able to get another date because the Attorney General's Department is not responding to our emails or phone calls. If the person had not gone to court and had not been found guilty, I could understand the back and forth, but we have that evidence, plus we have Miss Sainz's medical evidence. There is no dispute as to whether or not she was pregnant at the time, and there is no dispute as to her injuries. Out of professional courtesy, I would say you should answer us, even if you answer and then stonewall us, but nothing. This cannot be how we treat people, Hyman continued. According to Hyman, the delay is worse because Hines, who lost her unborn child as a result of the incident, has injuries that are likely to be permanent and prevent her from getting pregnant again. Miss Hines was pregnant at the time. She lost a baby, and she's not able to get pregnant now because the bullet is still in her body. She's extremely frustrated and overwhelmed. And remember that this is something she's living with because the bullet is still in her body and cannot be removed. So this is a constant reminder of what has happened, said the attorney. The loss that she's suffering is going to be permanent because, based on where the bullet is, she cannot run the risk of getting pregnant. She has all of that dealing with plus this delay, so there's absolutely no closure that can be had. She cannot even say, well, when I get this money, I'm going to try and see if I can go overseas to get help. She was going about her lawful business. She was shot and injured, and years later she's still getting the runaround, Hyman added. Government and the public sector unions settle outstanding wage issues. Thousands of public sector workers are breathing easier after an arrangement was reached between the government and their unions on outstanding items under the Public Sector Compensation Review. Under the program, the scores of wage bands within the public sector were simplified and several of the allowances absorbed into their salaries. But there had been several allowances for which there was no consensus, resulting in a standoff between government and the unions. St. Patrice Ennis, president of the Jamaica Confederation of Trade Unions, said the agreement brings an end to months of negotiations on several sticking points under the new wage framework for employees in the public sector.
We have managed to agree on a thing like increment, where everybody within the, at least central government, the public sector, will be entitled to a movement in increment come at least by April 2025. And so we have managed to have movement on our tailoring allowances, retroactive mileage, passenger mileage, payment on subsistence, and items like those that have been outstanding for quite a very long time now. And because of the determinedness of our group and the ministry's representative, including the minister, who have dedicated a lot of time to ensuring that we reach an agreement and had assured us that nobody will be leaving yesterday evening until we manage to ink out an agreement. Fortunately, that was done and it's behind us. We know of instances where the supervisor and the supervisee are getting the same. We know that persons are actually subsidizing the government in terms of their work because they are not being compensated or reimbursed for certain expenses that they use in doing their job. There are challenges, of course, but on a whole, I think most persons would have got what they ought to receive. And by this exercise, we would have completed a lot of the outstanding items, in particular central government. We're aware that in some public bodies, the exercise is ongoing in terms of the restructuring. But as far as central government is concerned, this in large measure would signal the completion of the exercise.
In the meantime, Finance Minister Dr. Nigel Clark has expressed relief for the conclusion of outstanding issues under the public sector compensation review.
I'm just very happy, very pleased that we're able to conclude on the negotiations that led to this agreement. We have been in dialogue for a long time, for many months, and there have been many rounds of discussions on a number of topics. I mean, this is a restructuring of the conditions of service, and you know, there are many different categories of workers, of employees who are in slightly different positions, and all of these factors have to be brought to the fore and discussed around the negotiation table.
JBNN will keep you informed. Please remember to subscribe, like, share, leave us a comment, and click the notification bell to receive our daily news items.